Cool. I will get my notebook in a minute.
You
all
do
right,
it?
I'll grab it real quick. Sorry. All right. I'm here, I'm ready, let's go. All right, let's start off like I like to start off with a little bit of conversation. I hate just talking the whole time, prior to popular belief. I would love to hear from every one of you, because this is a smaller group today. Why are you here? What are you hoping to get out of the conversation? Maybe it's because your team lead said you had to be here, I don't know. Christine, how about you?
Well, I'm not really sure what this is about today. I'm just gonna start attending as much as I can so I
Great.
can learn
Cool.
whatever I can.
Honest, I like it. Preston, how about you?
Well, most of my business comes from SOI and just client relationships like that, so I might as well learn to give back better and host more events, because it's something I'd like to learn about.
Cool. Miss Mercedes, how about you?
I do a lot of client events, so I was just curious more than anything to see what we're talking about,
Cool.
what things I might not know about and. That's some cool things, so.
I like it. How about you, Brittany?
Well, same as Christine, just trying to get as much education as I can about everything, but also, just more ideas about client events with the team to kind of bring that back, and some new ideas.
Great. Brian, how about you?
I like to do some client events. So seems like a good place to learn some things, because I can't say no to lunch. So
Can't say no to free lunch, that's right.
I love the
Oh,
honesty.
as if on cue, Cliff Cox just walked by. As you were walking by, Cliff, Brian just says, and I can't say no to free lunch. And I was getting ready to shout you out and you just
Perfect time.
did it. How are you?
Good, I'm gonna go pick it up here in a few, so.
Perfect.
Should be ready when you can.
All right, thank you.
All right, guys.
Yeah, he's got Devella subs today, which is always crowd pleaser. Great, yeah, this will be, I would say ideally equal parts, teaching, so I'm gonna teach you some stuff. Conversation, because I don't wanna just be talking the whole time, and let's talk and share ideas, and then action. We're gonna finish today with real planning, and for you, it might be hypothetical planning. Oh, I don't know, I need to take this back to my team, or I need to think about budgetary constraints, but information without, what is it, education without implementation is just entertainment. So my hope is that everyone here is able to leave with a framework of some things that they can actually do, and not just learn about stuff, but get into stuff. That is my hope. Welcome, Bree. Glad to have you. All right, hopefully that's where, okay. I want us to think through kind of three lenses as we have this conversation today. Number one, we're building stronger relationships. That's what client events help us to do. Number two, we're converting more leads. We'll talk about why that is and how we can do that at a higher level. And three, and this may seem silly, but having more fun in real estate through doing client events is a key thing. I tell people all the time, hey, your best lead gen strategy is the one that you're going to repeatedly do. There's a bajillion good options out there, but the one that you repeatedly do is the one that you're gonna have success in. And when you're having fun doing a thing, you're more likely to do that thing again. And so we'll talk a little bit more about what that means. That's a little fuzzy perhaps, because I took it as a picture from a training that I just came from. We say at KW that we are a models and systems based company. And for those of you that have read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, before you do anything, you have to think through that thing. I need to think $1 million. What does it mean for my business and my life to be oriented towards earning $1 million? Then before I earn it, I think it. after I earn it, then I can net $1 million, which is a different layer of our business. Then we receive it, which means it's a more passive business, and then we give it away. We talk about the 3 L's in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent business is leads, listings, and leverage. In this conversation, so as we talk about client events, do you think we're talking, which of those 3 or 2 of those 3, what do you think we're talking about here today?
Leverage, and then you can take the leverage from your database and get lead and listings from that leverage from the events.
Take us deeper, because you're spot on, but when you say it's leverage, what do you mean?
Like, I have no idea what I mean.
Anyone want to try to take? I said a lot of words, guys, I wasn't really ready for it.
Wait, I didn't even got the spot here.
Who wants to take the baton from her? So you're right. I think a lot of people would say client events are about leads, but client events are fundamentally about leverage.
Yeah.
Who wants to try to expound upon that?
I can, or at least what I think is you're kind of leveraging your clients to almost give you business, because you're like, hey, I'm taking care of you, you know, I'm keeping myself top of mind for you, you know, in return, you know, here's an Easter egg hunt, you know, keep me in mind, and just hopefully, you know, that just returns with a referral, or just, hey, you know, I know a realtor, if you need one, kind of a thing.
Correct.
You pat my back, I pat your back.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and it's a
Passive.
much of what we do is a one-to-one activity. Hey, when I pick up the phone and I talk with someone, and I don't hear what I'm not saying, that's arguably the best thing we can do in this business, is actually talk with real people. But that's a one-to-one thing. I'm not like bulk calling people and hoping that 40 of them answer. And so client events become a one-to-many opportunity. It's not the same as having a buyer consult with all those people, but I have the opportunity to strengthen relationships with 10, 20, 100 people, as opposed to one at a time.
Especially in the area, you know what I mean, with events, they're so hyper focused to where you're at and where you wanna be. That like we are both in Canton South, so we're setting up a community day event.
You're in Canton South now?
Uh-huh,
I knew you were moving, but I forgot where.
on Carnwise.
Okay.
She still needs to lose a few more teeth to really fit in.
You won't harm me.
Yeah. You know about my dental history that I don't.
The further way you get from 10, it's just go down 77. I mean, I got all my family from West Virginia, so I mean, just go all the way down to
You're
nothing.
just taking shots. You tease because you love. No, you're totally right. When we think about, you know, the only fully limited and non-renewable resource out there is what? Time. We all have the same number of hours in the day. And the more one-to-many activities we can do, provided that they are of quality, the higher the ceiling becomes and the bigger our business can become. Now that's operative. Hang on a second.
Okay.
Quality matters, because many of us say, like, hey, having a billboard is a highly leveraged activity. I just put it there and thousands of cars drive by over the course of a month. Is that a quality touch? I'm going to say no. Tim Misney may disagree with me,
Yeah.
but I'm going to say no. I know he's your
You better
spirit.
get the eyebrow game going.
I could probably do it if I worked extra hard. Mercedes, how are you going to chime in on that?
What I was gonna say is just events, not only is it the one touch to call to invite them, but if they can't come, you've opened up a. Let's now shoot and what's going on with your life, and you can update your database and your CRM.
Yep.
And then if you're at the event, that's another touch, and then after the event, you thank them for coming, which is another touch. And they say you should touch people how many times a year?
36 as a baseline. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
A lot of touching, yes.
A lot of touching, no touching. Yeah, you're spot on. All right, quick exercise. Some of you are newer to the industry. And so this will be more of a hypothetical, and some of you have been selling for a little while. As you think, so for those of you that have been at it for a little while, I want you to think through your last 6 or 10 deals. And I didn't prepare you for this, but think through who they were and where they came from. For those of you who are newer to the industry, for whom this is a little bit more hypothetical, project forward, who do you hope your next handful of deals would come from? Internet connection is unstable. That doesn't matter today. Might matter for the Zoom, but not for this.
No one's on it.
And if jotting down a note is helpful, that's great. I think many of us probably know. Preston, for you, as you think through your last 6 or 10 deals, and as we think through sources, so intelligent business dictates that we understand our sources of business. Your last 6 or 10 deals, what were the top couple of sources there?
SOI and referrals.
Okay.
That's where all of it comes from, and then the few, like, because
Can you go deeper than that?
Yes, yeah, so like cause you told me about like, going back and analyzing your deals.
Mhm.
When we talked a few months ago,
Yep.
and like said, cause we were talking about stress, and I was
Mhm.
like, the most stressful deals that I had were clients that weren't mine,
Mhm.
if that makes any sense. So like, I dealt with a FISBO, that was a nightmare. Not really my client, but my client was the buyer, it just happened, the FISBO was just a nightmare.
Yep.
And just kind of other things like that, and I've got to be more picky.
Mhm.
Yeah, intentional,
Mhm.
picky about who I'm working with,
Mhm.
because we can.
Mhm.
It's not like we work at Home Depot,
You're not
everybody that
obligated
walks
to.
through the door is a customer.
Yep.
So, and just kind of learning if I just don't kind of vibe with the person right up the front, I'm just gonna refer it all.
So SOI can mean a lot of things. And I define that as someone that you know, but get more specific as hey, these are friends and connections from church, or this is high school.
Yeah,
Can you get even more specific?
it comes from everywhere, but church is a pretty good reach, because
Okay.
I think I'm the only one in the church that knows anything about real estate, so I'm just.
You scare off all the other visitors and the realtors.
Yeah, so I've had a few deals come from the church, and so I mean, obviously those people I know pretty well. Those ones are more smooth, so it's just like, if I can just kind of gather more people like that with client events like that, I think, and just.
Yep.
Be
So
more intentional with my business.
Preston is SOI and maybe church as a particularly focused lane there. Anyone else want to take a stab at either where your core, yeah, Ashley?
So, I also do mostly sphere and referral, and my one deal that I had just a couple months ago. I just so happened to be walking like a year ago, I was painting a property, just helping out, and I was walking out and he's like, hey, I have like, rentals here, and I'm like, okay, I can help you. I gave him my card a year ago, and then he called me and he's like, hey, can you help me sell my condo? And I'm like, absolutely. So it's just a matter of, I just put my card out, just had a really good conversation with him. I never followed up with him, which isn't the best on my end, but it still did work out just by having that initial conversation. But yeah, most of mine, that was a coincidence, but most of mine are referrals from family and friends. Or like my last one that I had, it was my grandmother that referred one of her church friends to me.
Sure.
We got it taken care of.
Referrals from kind of your inner circle. would
Correct.
be the core.
Correct.
Bree, how about you?
For where my business comes.
Mhm.
Yeah, referral probably,
Okay.
or as like my SOI.
Mercedes?
Yeah, a lot of mine is that, but a lot of it also is like in Canton South, for example, like I went and touched all the neighbors that are next to me and gave them a little thing that said like, if you need any sugar, like call me. So like just touching as many
Mhm.
areas as I can, but keeping it top of mind.
Mhm.
But the last few deals have all been like, hey, you sold this. Can you do this?
Mhm.
And I'm like, yeah, of course.
So philosophical question for the room then, as we think about client events and as we think about our sources of business, some of us say, oh, I need an additional source of business. Some of us say, I need to go deeper with my existing core source or sources of business. Let's debate for a minute. How should we think about that as it relates to client events? Deeper or broader?
I like going deeper, just personally.
Why is that?
It's real estate's a relationship business, and that's just kind of. The more you kind of learn about somebody, the easier I think they are to work with, and the more. The more they trust you and like you, the more they are, or the more willing they are to refer you more business as well. Instead of just like a surface level, like tier 1 level, like get a couple tiers deep and.
Sure. So many tears. All the tears. Anyone want to challenge Preston? Say, I'd rather go broader than deeper. Or I think it's better to go broader than deeper. Everyone's just intimidated by your church mode. Yes, so ideally,
Situation, because people say to not get like too emotionally invested in your clients. So I feel like it's like a fine line,
It is fun.
so, yeah.
yeah, I mean, sometimes the hardest deals come from the people that we're close with, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So there can be a double-edged sword there. A good business has at least 3 lead sources. So anyone who's only relying on one source is susceptible to something changing with that source. Now, if it's people that you know, like core source is SOI, that's your least recession, that's your most recession-proof market change. Like these are people who already like and trust you. So it's one up or down. Whereas if your core source is Zillow, for example, and Zillow changes their policy or their pricing model or whatever, suddenly you're in a difficult situation. So we always encourage to be strategic about 3 models, but SOI is always going to be number 1. Who knows this quote? Do I want to be liked, loved, or do I want to be feared? And the great leader Michael Scott says, I want people to be afraid of how much they love me. So I was at a training at KW last week, and Jason Abrams says, and this is so good, people will take information from sources that they trust, but they conduct business with those that they like.
Yeah.
Which is,
Right?
that's a duh statement. And the point of that of him making that point was, people trust Zillow. Now we can joke about Zillow. If this estimate isn't accurate, blah, blah, blah. But we are in the minority. And sometimes when we overly hit that gong on social media, people are like, yeah, you're just either jealous or fearful, or, you're just concerned with your own commission. It's not a great look for us to all we do is bash Zillow. And if you do it under a different name because they're a brokerage now, we can get in trouble. So people trust Zillow, but that doesn't mean that they like them as it relates to, oh yeah, the person that calls me from Zillow is going to be the person that works with me. People conduct business with those that they like. And we know this at the core. There's people that run really great businesses who don't have a huge social media presence, that don't pay for leads, but they're likable. And they're great with following up with folks. And so as we think about client events, at the end of the day, it's about becoming more likable to more people and being more thought of than more people. It's not about being the real estate answer person for folks, because at the end of the day, they're going to conduct business with people that they actually like. It's a duh statement, but it hit me like, how often am I thinking through this lens? Oh, I want to be trusted. I want to know the right things. And how many of us don't do the things that we need to do in real estate because of fear of looking wrong or looking stupid? And at the end of the day, your clients, I don't want to say that they don't care, but winning in real estate is not about
Well,
looking smart.
That's a big thing for the newer agents, because they come in and sometimes they're like, oh crap, I have to know everything that's in my class and I don't know everything in real life. But again, if your sphere likes you and you say, hey, I got a really good broker who I can ask all kinds of questions for, they'll be able to have that trust in your life.
Yes, totally. Focus on likability and
Wake up now, guys, don't you worry.
What's that?
Wake up.
Mercedes is here to play.
The coffee is taken.
So this is a tool, and I'm laying a lot of groundwork, and then we'll talk nuts and bolts of client events as well. You're probably like, hey, get to the point. We talk about this stuff because if we don't understand why we're doing it and the power of what we're doing, then we're not going to continue to do it. No, I tried it that time and it didn't work. But when we understand that at the end of the day, it's all about relationships and being liked, then we can deepen our kind of conviction behind that. There's a cool thing called the circle of trust. This matters with leaders and the people that follow them, but this matters for us with our clients. And I'm a little bit contradicting what I just shared. I would argue that to be liked and not trusted, hey, he's a likable guy, but I would never do business with him. That's not a great place to be. I think liked lives within the circle of trust. It's not outside. It's not an either or. We want people to be afraid of how much they love us. And so the circle of trust moves from empathy. Who wants to take a stab at understanding what, or explaining or defining what empathy is? Brittany.
Make you feel that they've been heard and seen what they're interested in and following up on that rather than your own, what you think they want.
Yeah, can you tell when someone's being empathetic with you?
Yes.
Yeah, you can't fake empathy.
No.
Empathy is walking in their shoes and for them to feel that. It's this understanding, caring, and authentic. So that's the core. People don't feel like we care, they don't care how much we know. Brian, competency. What's competency and why might it matter as we think about establishing trust with our clients?
Sorry. Not exactly, no.
Christine, you want to jump in?
Maybe just knowledge of the real estate industry and what you're doing and information that you're giving them is correct.
Yeah, you can be relied upon. There's a professional validation there. Yeah, knowledge, skills, experience. You don't need to know it all, but if you're acting like knowing anything doesn't matter, then that's not a great way to build trust. Ashley, what's transparency and why does that matter as we think about establishing trust?
I would say like being transparent and honest throughout the entire transaction, everything that is going on, being honest with them from start to finish. If something is falling apart, you're being honest and explaining it to them. And just if they have questions that you don't know, it's that, I don't know it, but I'll go find somebody that will.
Does anyone have a mechanic that they love? Like,
Mhm.
hey, this is the guy that I take my car to and I trust him. Why do you love him so much or them so much?
Because if they are not telling me things that really aren't wrong, they're not trying to upsell me, they are straight to the point. This is what's going on. This is how I can help you.
Yes.
And that's it.
Yes, I feel like that's always the answer with mechanics. That's, it's assumed that they know how to get the job done. But you get a raving fan as a mechanic if you tell someone, hey, keep an eye on this. It doesn't need to be done now. Just keep an eye on it. As opposed to the place that's the one-stop shop and all of a sudden there's $5,000 in recommended things. It's like, I think I just did the transmission thing last time, but I didn't take, no, it's like we've all been to those places. But the guy that says, keep an eye on it, doesn't need it now, but I wanted you to know, that's transparency. And that's how mechanics build trust, in case you want to become a mechanic.
Those are my favorite ones.
And so how does that show up in real estate? How does transparency show up in our transactions or in our relationships?
Be forthcoming, right off the bat. Like if something, like if there's an issue arising, just nip it right there.
As long as you're not giving away confidentiality, in the same regards.
Right.
Yeah.
Then be
Fully transparent about my client's information. That's not what this means. Yes, it's owning the crap as soon as the crap needs to be owned. It's not like, hey, I hope this works out and I'll let you know if it doesn't. It's like, no, just so you know, this thing's happening.
So I have one for you. I have a client right now, love him dearly. He calls me every single day since the deed has been overnighted to Tusk County. And they told him 5 to 7 days, but he called me every day asking if I heard anything. So finally, I was like, listen, I'm being transparent with you. 5 to 7 days. Don't call me before that now. He's like, you're right. I'll call you every day if I don't. I'm like, listen, I got a lot going on. It looks like an hour every time you call.
Oh, yeah, that's killer. Sounds like Scott Taylor.
That's a lock 'em up.
Get down, it's coming. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Being clear.
It's transparent, but.
And as a newer agent, so how might transparency particularly need to show up for a newer agent that doesn't have a bunch of deals under your belt? Brittany, you want to take a stab?
Just so that they know, that I've been using that recently. I'm part of a team that has more experience, because I'm only less than a year in, so there's a lot of things that can come up and they'll go, well, you have experience with this, and I don't want them to think I have something that I don't. I know where to get the answers if I need to. I have life experience that I can tell them about, but I don't want come off that I have knowledge that I don't.
Yes, we get,
No
we get-
one should come off of being a know-it-all either, even if you've been in the industry, people hate that.
Yeah.
The older agents are like, oh, I've been in the industry this long. Those are the worst.
yeah, you can, and you can tell when someone's trying to be like, yeah, this is the answer, and it's like, you don't know that that's the answer, and I can tell based upon the, you know, the degree of certainty. I've been there before. It's like, yeah, that's the answer. I'm gonna go call Rich really quick to verify that that's the answer.
Trust and
No.
verify.
Yeah, exactly. Being able to say, let me make a quick call and following through on that. People care far more about what you do for them than what your experience is. And if you deliver on that, then it's no big deal. And then dependability, that one stands for itself. Keeping promises, meeting expectations, maintaining confidentiality. That's at the end of the day, what our clients want from us and what client events can help to underscore. So let's talk about why client events matter. We've been touching on this, but we're moving into it. At the end of the day, we are in a what business?
Relationship.
People, relationship. Yes, I didn't give you guys a worksheet to fill this out, but we're in a people business. I just got off the phone with a guy who he has his MBA, so he knows it all. And he used the word branding like 12 times in the conversation. He's not yet licensed. And branding. I'm like, yeah, relationships. And it's not a branding or relationship conversation, but if all you care about is branding without relationship, I don't care how great your brand is.
It's like less than 5% of what matters.
Yes,
So
yep. Last week at the KW training, we heard from one of the most successful kind of once TLs, team leaders in the KW system. And she doesn't even have a Facebook page, like Facebook account. And I was like, you know, because we hear like, oh, if you're not an influencer, then you're not going to win. She's like, no, I just actually build a relationship with lots of people and I continue to do it. And she's succeeded at a really high level. Same is true for us in our real estate businesses. Your success in real estate, and this is the same concept, corresponds to the number of people that when they think about real estate, they think about you. And so as we think about client events and as we think about scaling our businesses, that has to be central. Thirdly, this is a quote that I love, and you might think is a little bit dark, but it's pretty good. Well, actually, I'll illustrate it this way. So how often do people buy and sell real estate?
7 years.
Yep. Seven-ish years. So if we're in the relationship game, I know 100 people, that means 14 of them are going to be moving every year. Some of them may not want to work with me for one reason or another. And so we have to, at the high point, is when they're conducting real estate. Okay, you're 7, you're 14, you're 21, you're 28. You know, our job is to stay in a relationship with them throughout the course of that time. So my goal is to be your go-to until you buy or until you die. It's a lifelong goal. As we think about client events, is it more about nurturing the existing relationships or generating leads?
Nurture.
And generating.
Ding, 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 ding. Correct. It's a both and. Our goal is there are people that we know that are not really leads. Leads are people that have a real estate related need at some point in the future. Beyond that, they're contact. So we want to move from contacts to leads. That's a kind of moving them through the funnel, and then obviously nurturing existing connections. So how do events create connection? Personal touch versus impersonal marketing strategies. The power of a conversation versus a billboard. Shared experiences that foster trust and rapport. And then one other keynote, I read a book recently called Die with Zero. And he talks about memory dividends, which basically means if Mercedes and I went to a great party last year, our experience at that party was great, but it serves as memory dividends. Like it serves as a facet to our relationship moving forward. Hey, you remember that time? Hey, remember that time? Here's this picture. And it's not just a one-off thing. It actually strengthens the relationship. And I think we think of events as happening in a vacuum. It's like, no, this creates memory dividends for us with the people that we serve. All right, so let's get into thinking through client events. And as we begin to talk more practically about them, who gets excited about planning events? Who gets excited about planning events? You do. Bree? Yeah,
I feel like I need a lot of help with it,
okay,
to like gather ideas and I can do it, but.
cool. There's no wrong answer here.
Yeah.
And I think one of the defeater beliefs as it relates to client events is if I'm not part of a large scale operation, I can't do it. Because I don't have the budget, I don't have the manpower, whatever. And my hope is that our conversation takes us deeper into understanding how it can be for us. So considerations as you think through. So let's kind of shift into, and I'm gonna give you I'll give it to you now. And we'll work through it more practically in a little bit. So this is just a kind of a worksheet that we'll be working off of to help you actually put some things together. Pardon any type really. Who are my people? What am I asking when I ask that question?
The people that you want to invite?
Sure, most probably.
The people you wanna target the most.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I know a lot of people, but as I think about who I am and the people that I'm most likely to attract and the people, you know, whether it's a stage of life thing or a community thing or a shared passion thing, if I know this number of people might be my people, which doesn't mean that I'm not going to serve other people to call and ask, but as I think about focusing my efforts, because if I'm doing something for everybody, you're probably doing it for no one. You know, our Easter egg hunt that we're doing in a few weeks, which we'll talk about in a minute, and how that is a client event for you, should you want for it to be. That's not targeting old folks. Old folks don't come to Easter egg hunts. Doesn't mean that we're being ageist, but that's like a decision was made with that families with young children is a group that we want to pursue. If we were hosting a happy hour somewhere, that would be a different kind of target demographic. So identify who are my people, and that's a question of what's my stage of life, who can I most naturally connect with, where am I coming from? You know, where my church is a place. You know, understanding kind of my community elements as well. Secondly, what do I love to do? Why does that question matter?
You should focus your events on things that you enjoy, because then it'll come naturally and it won't feel like it's such a burden to do.
I feel like you'll be able to attract other people too that enjoy that. Like-minded, yeah.
Yes. One example of this that I love is Amy Myers, excuse me. She likes to drink craft beer. That may be for you, and that may not be for you. But she and her team at the time would host what I would call a micro event, where like, hey, I like going to breweries. The people that I like, so the who are my people probably do too. Doesn't mean that if you drink Miller Lite that I can't be friends with you, but like this is more of a my people thing. And so she would do a micro event at a local brewery where she'd pay for people's first drink. That's a good example. Now, if you're 12 years sober, you're obviously not going to be, not going to do that event. But think about, what do I love to do? Because you're going to continue to do the things that you love to do. Tina Bagnoli's team just on Friday, they hosted a game night at our Mansfield office. And it's like, hey, we looked around, it's like, hey, a number of people on our team, we just love to play games. And so if only a few people show up, we'd be a little bit disappointed in that, but like, this is true to who we are. And the thought of doing a quarterly game night for us, and then we're inviting our people into it, feels more real. If you're putting on something that's not real to you, people are like, oh, okay, this isn't who you are.
People can see past the fakeness.
Yeah, and your gears aren't gonna spin in the same way, or what about this, or here's my experience there. Like, you're gonna put on better events and you're gonna host and invite with greater passion when it's something true to who you are. Anyone want to share for a minute, like, hey, what's a thing or what's something true about you that you think you could lean into as it relates to events? You're smiling.
I can't answer that right now.
Not safe for work.
Well, it's recreational now, but.
Okay, yeah, okay.
But marijuana, I have a medical card and I would love to do something with that, but I don't wanna also put my business out there like that and have people put their nose down, because I have clients that don't do it.
Yeah, there's
It's one of
risks
those weird
associated with
things
that.
Like, I myself as a connoisseur would love to like set up a table at a dispensary or
Mhm.
something,
Mhm.
know?
Yeah, that's complicated.
Yeah, it's a weird one, that's why I laugh, I'm like, I can't really target that, but I'll
Yeah.
tell you what I'm targeting.
Yeah.
Choose the world's first cannabis sommelier. You know,
I mean,
I
I
like
don't know,
it.
maybe it's a thing. Anyone else wanna share what they're into?
It's like anything, like more legal.
I mean, it's not illegal, it's just
Yeah.
a grayer area. Yeah,
so this is one that's just kind of in the wheelhouse that I'm kind of thinking about doing is when we did the Christmas event with the family, the photography and all that stuff, that went really well. I'm like, okay, what could we do in the spring or summertime? I'm like, well, do kind of the same thing, bring a photographer to a dog park and say, hey, bring your pups. And just nobody has like, some people, or a lot of people don't have like a nice quality professional photo with their dogs.
Oh, yeah.
So that would be a really good way to just.
1000%. We have a team at one of our other offices that does that twice a year,
Oh,
and it's gangbusters.
wow, okay.
I mean, that's when I say what do I love to do? I should probably just have ended that to say what do I love? Because like, okay, my pets isn't a to-do, but you better believe, I mean, our group text about our animals and cats and stuff with our staff is
Wild.
a clear place of passion
Yes,
for a number of people on our.
absolutely.
Sometimes I feel like people love their pets more than they love their kids.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Listen, some days.
We have three pets and they are all annoying. 4 kids, 3 pets. Oh my gosh. Come to work, get away. No, just kidding, just kidding. But yeah, I mean, pets is a huge one and you can niche down like cats versus, there's different personality types that are attracted there as well. But that's a big one. What else? What else comes to mind as you think about passion or something that you love?
Well, I do love my children.
Mhm.
And doing something that can involve them, which means involving other people that are in my sphere that also have families, like a zoo or, like Gaga for goats and stuff like that, that my children can also be involved in.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. If the people that you're most likely to do business with also likely have kids, and therefore for you to think through, hey, the thing that I would want to do is probably the thing that they would, or the thing that my girls would want to do is probably the thing that their kids would also want to do. That's a great thought. Third consideration, or an additional consideration, is where is my geographic center? When someone says, this goes back to the deeper and wider conversation. Many of us say, hey, if anyone's looking to buy, sell, or invest in the state of Ohio, give me a call. That's not a particularly compelling or actionable move. But if you say like Canal Fulton, I'm going to be the king of Canal Fulton, just for the sake of the example. I don't know if any of us here live there. People in Canal Fulton are going to hear that more as opposed to the Northeast Ohio, broad one. So as you think through your events, where is my geographic center? And when I'm asking that, I mean, if I were to heat map my SOI, meaning drop them on a map, okay, I've got a handful that live in Jackson Township, a handful that live in Green, a bunch that live up towards Fair, and say, oh, the geographic center is here. The closer to where your people live that you put something on, the more likely that you are, A, that they're going to come, but B, other people from the areas that you're likely to want to serve are going to come. For me, I work down here, but I live in Fair Lawn. And so for me to do a client event at Gervasi, well, Gervasi may be a bad example, at some community park here, like, hey, I host a picnic at Price Park, would be weird just because it would require most of my neighbors to drive 30 minutes in order to come. Whereas if you live within 10 minutes of Price Park, then that's a great choice for you. Number 4, what sort of scale am I hoping for as I think through client events? Scale could mean, hey, I'm hoping for 10 people to come, or scale could mean I'm hoping for the entire community to come. That's an important consideration as you think through then the 5th question, what are my goals? So as you think through goals as it relates to client event, what might an example of a goal be? We don't do anything without setting a goal, and I would say a measurable goal. What might an example of a goal be for client event?
To gather an X amount of contacts at the event and gather as many photos as possible to post after the event and things like that.
Yep, contacts gathered, contact information made, you said attendance.
Have at least like 5 real estate conversations.
Yep, let's
I mean,
say,
if not more, but
Yeah.
like 5 like real like active buyers or sellers.
and that's a great example, and that's attendance. If your goal is attendance, I want 50 people to come, and your goal is real estate conversations, your planning and what you do is gonna be pretty different. Cause you could hit that goal with probably less is more with that goal. Meaning, hey, if I've got too many people, I'm gonna be spread so all over the place that I'm probably not gonna be able to slow down and actually have a conversation with you. So I either need to go smaller, or I need to have more people helping to put it on, as opposed to like, hey, if I'm looking to like make a statement and get lots of pictures, and it's more of an effect than it is a deep thing, I'm gonna approach that a little bit differently. And so getting clear on, and there's no right answers, but aiming for nothing ensures that you're gonna hit that every time. And so scale is good, and measurable scale. Mercedes, your answer was one of my favorites there. Number of contacts made. So, hey, it's cool that 100 people came, but if I didn't capture their information in any way, missed opportunity there as well. Couple other thoughts, and then we're gonna watch a little video, I think. So we convert leads through client events. We attract potential clients, they come. I already touched on that. We showcase our approachability and expertise indirectly. When you're interacting with people who know you or like you in some way, shape, or form, how hard do you need to work to talk about real estate?
Not at all.
Not at all. Why?
Because they already know the business that I'm in. They know that they say one thing that it remotely revolves around a house, we're gonna start that conversation. It happens way more often. Like Sunday, I was at my nephew's birthday party. How's the market? I get it every time I walk into my sister's house.
Yeah.
It's just, it's easy.
It's the blessing and the curse
I
of
know.
being in our industry.
I
Is
know.
if you don't have people asking you that question, you're probably just not around people enough. Because if you're with people who know that you're in the industry, I get that question more than I care to, and
Yeah.
it's a good problem to have, because it gives us an opportunity to ask, why do you ask? Or depends on who you are. It gives us an indirect opportunity to be approachable and show our expertise. It's a mistake if you go too heavy in the paint with regards to real estate at a client event, because the goal of a client event is relationship. Turning attendees into leads, contact information follow-up. Couple other thoughts, and then we will watch a video that's helpful for us. Budgeting. So how should we think about budget as we think about client events? Percentage of our world, et cetera. Any thoughts there?
I mean, if you're doing the event for, hopefully for new referrals, you're gonna have to figure out how many people need to walk through the door in order to, make up for the cost. So like if you're hosting an event, it's like, say $1,500 and 3 people walk through the door, the likelihood of making up that, 1,500 is probably not likely in a quicker turnaround. So you just gotta make sure, like, okay, if I'm putting the money into it, I need at least X amount of people to walk through the door, because X amount of people should refer or do business with me.
Yeah,
Just doing a lot of math to try to figure that out.
I like that. Anyone want to give a different answer or build upon what Preston just said?
Client events, you could draw so many different people to join you.
Mhm.
To bring down your costs, that budgeting shouldn't be that hard. You should save some of your budgeting for other things like little pop buys or.
Leverage.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great, and we'll touch on that. That's actually in our worksheet. Preston, I love the way that you answer that question. That's a little bit abstract and difficult to pin down, but to say, you're kind of doing a reverse engineering economic model. So if I meet 20 people, 3 of them are gonna move this year. Average GCI that they would create is this. For me, like if you're investing in lead gen in your business, you want to see a 4x return. So if that GCI, let's say, creates 12 grand, the minimum you'd want to invest is 3 grand. You should not be spending 3 grand on a client event. But kind of backing your way in to say, what's the opportunity that I'm creating through strengthening relationships and getting in touch with more people. Another good goal as it relates to client events is number of referrals generated.
Yeah.
Hey, is any in the sign-in form, anyone you know looking to buy or sell in the next year?
I've heard some of my sphere say they feel like they are included by being a part of my sphere. Because I bring them events, I do Popeyes, I do little things, and I feel like when they refer someone to me, that they're gonna get that same, they now are joining the club of
Mhm.
being invited to the events, getting the Popeyes, so they feel like they became part of,
Oh, that's so good.
Like part of
Yeah.
the community almost.
like, part of, like, the in crowd. I don't
Yeah.
know how to say it, but that's what my one client said, she was like, oh my gosh, ever since using you, like, we didn't even know what realtors would do for us.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
That's so good, and that means you're providing value. You're building real relationships. It's not just here comes that salesperson coming to squeeze us for something else. It's here's a gift, here's an opportunity, here's an event.
Yeah, they feel like they're doing me a favor because I do them a favor,
Mhm.
that whenever anyone's talking about real estate, they're like, hold on, no, you have to call my realtor.
That's the goal. That's the
Yeah.
goal. I mean, these Popeyes and client events aren't just for the sake of it. It's to
Right.
be thought of more often. This is
But it's
exactly what we're
hard
talking about.
to put that in a budget, for me at least,
Mhm.
because like. I get the money back when I close a sale, so to me, I'm like, okay, it pays for itself.
So really quickly, for those of you who are numbers nerds, the MREA would say that you should allocate 10% of your GCI toward lead generation activities. So some people may say, great, I'm just take 10% of my GCI and get realtor.com leads, which is fine. You're allowed to do that. Some people are going to say, I'm going to spend a bunch of money on mailers in my community. For someone like you, Mercedes, that already has some momentum here, and hey, I like doing some events, I like doing Popeyes, that's lead generation money. And so, hey, if I make 10 grand in a month, 1,000 of it in theory is earmarked for the growth of my business. And there's no better way or no more recession-proof way to grow your business than through your people that way. That's exactly what you're doing. That's not like, oh, I just do this on the side. It's like, no, that's your lead that's your core lead generation tactic. And it's working. If people are saying, I feel like I'm on the inside because of that, then it's totally working.
Yeah.
Great job.
More now, I'm like, what else can we do, guys? You've got more ideas. I love it.
Yes. So,
That dog, the dog photos.
That's a great-
Dog park idea.
That's probably one of the more concrete ideas I have that's probably gonna be executed this year.
it's not hard to do. We can
No.
talk more
Well,
about
let
that.
me know, I'll join up with you on that one too.
Yeah.
So lead time. So if I'm hosting an event July 4th, say, hey, I'm doing a picnic in the park July 4th before the fireworks, whatever. What sort of lead time do you need in order to communicate, invite, et cetera, for your database? Okay.
The event.
Mhm.
Like, for example, if it's one that's like 4th of July or Memorial Weekend or like a busy weekend when people are out of town, you have to send those out way in advance.
Yes.
Because you want them to put it on their schedule
Sure.
and not make any other plans. But if it's something shorter term around, like maybe the dog event, you know what I mean, because that can be hosted whenever. I feel like you should at least give them 60 to 90 days notice, it'd just be nice, but you don't, like 30-day notices.
That's a great answer. The more the better. Why? Because it gives us more reason to be in touch with them.
Mhm.
So it's not just about them coming. So much of the value of events is the reason to be in touch with people along the way. So if I'm doing a dog event in May, for example, why wouldn't I start promoting that now? A, because it enables me to get my crap together and be organized with it, but also, hey, save the date. Hey, so-and-so, I don't know if you saw, 3 weeks later, I'm calling in, there's an email reminder, there's a social media post, like it gives you 6 or 8 opportunities to, Lord willing, not be annoying, but there's no question that your database knows that this is an opportunity for them. And so the more touches, the better, and the more varied. So I want to talk for a second about micro events. So this, you might take a second for me to get this right. Meg Day, I think is how you pronounce her last name. Spoke at family reunion about micro events. I think for those of us that lack creativity around this conversation, I thought it would be. Can you mute that, please?
how she was talking about, if, for budgetary, like you can do it at venues, if you just. Find them and like cheaper venues or free venues and stuff like that to really keep the budget down.
Mhm.
It's smart, because I think a lot of people just think, oh, the venue can be the most expensive thing.
Right.
They don't think beyond that.
Oh, like, as a fire department in North Canton, the Uniontown one is $60 to rent out that space for the day. So there's no excuse. $60 to rent it out for the day.
That's
The-
crazy.
The Uniontown Community Center.
Oh,
I just hosted a baby shower there.
Oh. Is it nice?
yeah, I was.
We decorated it, like, it had like a bunch of tables and we did a balloon arch and did things to it, but. With it only being $60, it made it
Yeah.
so much room to decorate.
What did you guys think about her take on events or her approach to events? Many of us think events and we think about, renting out some big space and doing a big thing, and she's much more focused with that. How did that resonate with you?
She's really narrowing down her client base, it seems like,
Mhm.
or who she's reaching out to, if that makes sense.
Her avatar.
Yeah, so it's just like, she's picking her lane, I guess, and just driving right down it and just like. Just doing all the right things like for like clientele, for that, I think it really, instead of just casting a wide net, just bringing everybody in, it's just real. Narrow.
Yeah, I think for me, Bree, I'm like you, I'm like, yeah, I like events, but I wouldn't say like, yes, this is my natural gifting. It moves it from this like, oh, I have to be a Mercedes in order to win in this space to like, I need to do a thing that I would like with people that I would like consistently.
Yeah.
And that's not a hard thing to do. I had a professor who used to say, in order to be interesting, you have to be interested, which means if all you do is hang out and watch TV at home, you have to be, if that's the thing that you like to do when you're off, you have to be pushed outside your comfort zone here. We're all more interesting and interested than that. But you're not gonna invite people to just over to watch your favorite show. I suppose you could, Bachelor night. But to think, what do I like to do that I could invite not just the same people, it's one thing to have Bachelor night with the same group of friends, but it's something where I can rotate in a different group. And I think it was a little side comment that she made. I think she said, girls bring girls, where it's like, yeah, you bring a friend. It's not just, I'm only inviting my friends. It's my friends are gonna invite their friends as well.
I feel like I like her mixologist idea.
Oh, yeah.
That's something that's so fitting for me as I bartend at night and I know like a lot of recipes and a lot of like. I think that would be really cool to
Yeah.
get a group of girls together and just do that. It'd be fun.
Totally. And if you think it would be fun, then your people would think it was
Yeah.
fun also.
Yeah, so I don't know. Cause I just feel like I struggle with like what even would I do,
Mhm.
But that could be like. People my age, it could be older women, it could be guys, it could be anyone,
Mhm.
so.
I
I
like-
thought that was a really good idea.
I like it because you're like, hey, we're here for mixology and everything, and like, you don't even have to talk about real estate, it's just,
Right.
as long as they know
Yeah,
you do real estate.
yeah, and I could have like my cards there. And,
Or a name tag. That way you don't have to say anything.
True.
And it says realtor on it, then I heard from a
People
panel one
take
day
that too,
that
I
she
bet.
wore her name tag to the grocery store and she got $1 million listing from it.
what?
Yeah.
Where do you get the name tags from? Just customize them? on-
Darlene Hall was on that panel and talked about how she got $1 million listing in this area from just wearing her name tag to the grocery store.
Mhm.
Well, be walking around like Fletcher Blades with a big old.
Yeah.
Big old chain, like, use me.
Yeah, it's a
I heard
thing.
a story too, at like the grocery store in the parking lot, an agent I know has like just a realtor art on her back of her car.
Mhm.
And the car parked next to her, like when she was loading her car with the groceries, was like, are you a realtor? And she's like, oh yeah.
If you want me to make those, I have one in my car and I have a Cricut.
Does it
So if
work?
anyone wants to,
Have you had stuff?
Enforcement.
well, I don't
to the
remember.
driver, I
I'm a
can't do
realtor.
that.
Yes, and so, yeah, that's same with her, and she
Yeah.
got a client from it at the grocery store parking next to
That's
her.
cool though.
Like,
That's
I mean, I feel like the odds are slim with that, but
Yeah.
it's still kind of cool.
Anything is possible though.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Train of thought was just derailed.
Oh, charger in here, I'm sorry, that's a weird random question, but does anyone have a charger?
I do in my office.
I will say,
I'm not sure if it's gonna be the right attachment or not, but let me.
I'll say also behind my desk is that.
I will.
Do you need you-
I'll be right back.
Thank you guys.
2.4 seconds.
You know how it is, when your phone's dead, you gotta have your phone alive.
It's dead at 11:20. Did you forget to charge it?
Oh, sure did last night.
That's the worst.
That is the worst.
I hate that.
So like, where's the weirdest place you've ever gotten a lead from?
This your first go around?
A parking lot, literally, like, granted, he called me,
Katie's site.
he called me a year later, but it was definitely a parking lot.
Parking lot.
So I wanna ask, when she walked us through the exercise of think through your the three dream clients. I'm hoping some of you did that.
Mhm.
I did it and it was eye-opening because we've been talking about this. I'm like, huh.
Yeah.
Okay, yep, here's 3 that I did a deal with in the last year. None of the 3 know one another. And they're all the same, like, there's clearly an avatar here. And it's like, oh, there's such opportunity. And I think her challenge,
Challenges that people are all over the place, so I don't know how to get them into categories. I mean, like, I guess I could, but I just see everyone as a potential.
Mhm.
So it's
I-
hard for me to,
well, and she made the point, I serve everyone, but I focus my efforts with a particular group.
Okay.
And so I think for you, the comment, the quote of Rory Vaden of, we're best positioned to help our former selves, or some version of that, like, hey, who was I 3 years ago? And that's why am I best positioned to help that person? A, because I walked in his shoes and we solved those problems and survived along the way. And you're positioned to be the big brother or the big sister of the you of a few years ago. And we all have a version of that. So is it young moms, Mercedes? Is that the group that you resonate well with? Maybe. If not, there might be another group there. But I think we all have a version of that. So I'd like for us to take 10 minutes, and this is just kind of a stock event planning worksheet. So you're gonna go in one of 2 directions. Direction 1 is, Preston's already got this idea for a pet photo event. Like, if you've already got a concept that's interesting to you, that you could actually take some action towards. You may not fully plan it out, but take some action towards. That's option 1. Option 2 is kind of the Meg challenge of think through your avatar and what's something that you could invite people to in 6 weeks. Within the next 6 weeks. One important note is that an event doesn't have to be something of your creation. So there could be something happening within the next 6 weeks that you could simply say, I'm going and I'd love it if you joined me for this thing.
I'm looking for my phone, I'm being an idiot. Like, what?
Where did it go? So let's take 10 minutes and I want for each of us to spend some time working through this, and then we'll share some ideas and then go have some lunch and move forward with our day.
You have a pen up there.
Probably.
I'll say.
Yes. Anyone else see that?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good question.
Mhm.
Yeah. Talking outside for a sec, are we? I think there's 2 pages now, which one are we on?
Yeah, do the event, we're doing the second page I gave you was just a 1-pager of what Meg did, so that's a paper version of what she did. This one is you're taking 10 minutes to kind of begin drafting a concept. Either in line with what she was doing, or if you have a different idea, feel free to run with that.
Thank you.
take 5 more minutes. Another minute. All right. Obviously, there's lots more that all of us could do as it relates to hashing out ideas and putting together or more congealed thoughts. But that'll be for a later time. That being said, I'd love to hear a few of you share kind of the road that you went down. Brittany, I'll put you on the spot. What do you think about?
So prior to this, I was working at the Y and did senior activities. I did a lot of things.
Oh, yeah.
Senior activities, did a lot of lunch and learn and stuff like that. Brought people in to do canvas paintings. I did canvas painting myself with them, so. You don't have to be great at it, you just have to show them how to do it, so. So anyway, so one of two, either that, I also have taught yoga, so I kind of back and forth of which one to do, but I think the canvas painting. I know Price Park, their outdoor pavilion's $50 for an hour, so. I mean,
That's where our first
obviously,
dragon hunt was, by the way.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Remember the weather that day?
The rain.
The weather could go either way, so that's always, but, yeah.
Well, the pavilion, you're okay.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I feel like, for me, being part of a team, I have a lot of leads from Scott,
Mhm.
but, my sphere, I don't have as turned as I would like to,
Mhm.
so that would be my target audience, past clients that I had at the Y, people that know me there, in addition to anybody that I have on social media that's, so. I don't know that it's a specific age range, because we started at the Y, even including younger kids if they were homeschooled or off school or something like
Mhm.
that, so.
That's cool.
It's kind of one.
I like it. I like it. Christine, how about you? What do you
So-
dream of?
So I just recently quit my full-time job and I'm really new and I have no money, so.
Yeah.
I was more trying to think of just events that I have coming up that are already paid for that I need to attend.
Mm,
Like, well, I'm actually throwing myself a farewell party with my old employees on Friday.
mm.
And then, I'm going to a bridal shower. And then, like, my friends and their friends, they all like to do paint and sips. So I was just trying to think of more stuff that wouldn't cost me a ton of money,
Mhm.
where I could meet people and.
Well, and I think, we are all wherever we are, right? And to say, well, in my mind, a client event is something that I pay for everything. And it's like, not necessarily. Hey, who wants to go do a paint and sip with me this weekend? Doesn't obligate you to paying for everyone to
Yeah.
go. Now, down the road, you may say that that's something that I want to do, but there's no rules as it relates to that. So it's again, it's inviting people to do the things that you would already be interested in doing.
I've also volunteered to work like beer trucks for events around Stark County.
Mhm.
That's kind of a really fun time and you get to
Mhm.
meet a lot of people too, so.
For sure. That's great. Others?
I did, the mixing with breed thing, but I was thinking that I could maybe ask, the owner of the Stone House to do it with me.
Mhm.
'Cause she lives in Lake Cable and she has a lot of wealthy friends that she brings to the business.
Mhm.
So, and I'm really close with her, so. I think that a lot of regulars from our restaurant would come probably if she invited them.
Mhm.
And then also, I was thinking maybe I could invite like a lender to
Mhm.
come too, in case like. We were hanging out, making drinks and people actually had questions about lending,
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a lot into it, obviously it'd be 21 and older.
Yeah.
But also it would be cool to gain closer connections with her friends too,
Mhm.
because I know that they're all obviously around here and they all own businesses and they're all. Women-owned businesses.
Oh, that's cool.
So I think that it would be really cool to,
Not bad connections to have.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I don't know if she would be down for it, cause she has enough events herself, but it's worth an ask, I think.
Mhm. That's awesome. Anyone else want to jump in?
So I am already a part of it's like a mommy and me event, with Mother's Day coming up. My friend, she is a good photographer and it was just a matter of putting like a mommy and me event together. I'm already attending one that she's doing, so it's a matter of getting with her and maybe doing like a collab
Mhm.
with other moms and their children and just keeping that alive with me wanting to involve my children in my business and just keeping that open, like, hey, I do have kids, this is what we do. And as a mom, I'm more behind a camera than I am in front of a camera.
Yep.
So unless I'm doing an event or unless I'm planning on doing professional photos, pictures with myself and my girls aren't as many as probably I should
Yeah.
have. So a collab with her, and I actually am gonna send her a message just to see her
Mhm.
because she's already doing it herself. So if we can get together and put something together,
Mhm.
that's my goal.
That's a great note. I'm kind of a little side comment there. As you're thinking about events, especially if you're taking more of a bootstrapped approach, which many of us are, you don't want to be the one that has to do everything, because if you're so busy sweeping up behind someone, you're not talking with that person. And so relationship building is central. So what friend can I say, hey, would you mind coming and helping with this? Having an extra set of hands, whether hired or just as a friend, can go a long way. It was interesting for me reflecting on this, because obviously I do this, but I also sell a little bit on the side. I'm already plugged into a number of recurring things where it's like, oh, I have a book club that I've gotten deals from pretty much everyone in that book club at some point. And my temptation is to think, oh, I need to go do something different with that group. I'm like, we already meet once a month and we do this. Now that group doesn't change, but that is a kind of a client event, part of Bible studies, like same concept. For me, because of the stage of life that we're in, for young kids, homeschooling, like life is very busy and full at home. They were going to be more kind of on our turf sorts of things. So like my wife is actually a potter and she teaches pottery, like, oh, a couples pottery class, which she's done, but I haven't thought about kind of getting behind that. We have a TV in our garage that you can sit on the driveway, like kids can play and you can watch a game and you can do the fire pit kind of all at the same time. So like casual, invite our people over more concepts than kind of big out in the community sorts of concepts, was kind of the road that I went down. But yeah, it's a good exercise. And I think her challenge was the right question. What can you do in the next 6 weeks? I think it's really easy with these sorts of things to say, oh yeah, I'll someday do that. It's like none of the things that we described are rocket science that takes all that much time. A couple strategic conversations and then putting a date on the calendar. Putting something on the calendar has an amazing way of making things happen. And so what can I do prior to July? And I would encourage you to calendar something in the next several of days would be my parting thought. Cliff has lunch for us out there. Any other thoughts or questions before we kind of wrap on it and enjoy some good food?
It's good.
Cool.
I'm taking these with me.
Take them with you. Thanks for being here, y'all.
Is there not a second part for Alyssa?